All right. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic week, short week, hopefully. Welcome to 2024. I hope it's been a productive year so far. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. We are going to be taking a look at an introduction to Reclaim.ai, what smart scheduling is, and how you can start using Reclaim to optimize your work week, make time for the things that matter most, and really take advantage of the smart scheduling features that Reclaim offers across the board for your calendar. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get started. There's a Q&A section, so leave your questions there and I will periodically check back to answer them as I go. We have half an hour, so let's not waste any time and get right into it. All right. So for those of you, whether you are a brand new user to Reclaim, you haven't gotten started yet, or you are a Reclaim user looking to learn a little bit more about what you can get out of the product, Reclaim is a web app, so you log in from the website, super simple. And if you have already seen what Reclaim looks like, if you've already been playing around with it, or if you haven't, you sort of enter on this planner view, which is your classic calendar view, your overview for the week, the days ahead, everything that you have on the schedule, all of your priorities. You have a couple sidebars here, the right-hand sidebar where you have a list of your tasks, as well as your priorities across all the different smart events that Reclaim offers, where you can have an overview, manage all of your time across the calendar, and take advantage of sort of quick actions for your events in the sidebar here as well. On the left-hand side, you have all of your smart features across your planner, your tasks, your habits, your smart one-on-ones. If you don't know what any of those are, that's okay. We're going to be walking through each one. And let's dive in with one of the most popular features that Reclaim offers, which is habits, which I also love starting with because it really gives an idea of what smart scheduling means. We talk about smart scheduling a lot, but really getting the idea of what the difference is. If you've ever tried time blocking your calendar manually, time blocking Google Calendar manually, you might have spent a few hours on Sunday night or Monday morning planning out your perfect work week. You have time blocks for each thing that you have to get done. Everything has a realistic time estimate. You're totally ready for the week. Unfortunately, when you are manually time blocking your calendar or manually managing your calendar, it doesn't really take into account when plans change. So you could have a perfectly planned week and a meeting gets canceled, or someone needs to book time with you as soon as possible, or a project becomes more urgent than a different project. And suddenly you are playing calendar Tetris, moving everything around in your calendar, and it just ends up being a time sink rather than the productivity boosting technique that it should be. With Reclaim, we optimized this process by automating the time blocking process across your tasks, your regular routines, your one-on-one meetings, your group meetings, syncing different calendars, really making the time blocking process, that process of creating a productive plan for every single day, a completely automated process. So you tell Reclaim what's important to you, things that you want to make time for every week, and Reclaim does the dirty work, the heavy lifting of building out your calendar, and not only building out that productive plan every week, but also keeping you flexible by automatically rescheduling when changes come up, adapting to when your priorities change, so you don't have to go in and do all of that manually. So Habits is a great way to sort of start because it builds the foundation for how Reclaim schedules all of these different smart events. So your habits are the things that you want to make routine time for. A great example is lunch. It's usually what we start talking about because it paints that picture really well. Most people want to make time for lunch. If you're a busy professional, it's very easy for your day to get booked up and you don't have enough time defended for a midday break to get something to eat or to stretch your legs and just take a minute. You can create a recurring time block in Google Calendar, but it doesn't, again, allow for that flexibility. You might not need to have lunch at 12 o'clock exactly every single day. You might be happy to reschedule your lunch break to accommodate a really important meeting or an important project to hit a deadline. And when you have sort of that recurring event at the same time every day, it's very static and you have to, again, go in manually and move things around when those plans adjust. With Reclaim, you essentially give Reclaim a smart scheduling range for how you want to make time for these events, for this habit. So if we take a look at lunch, and we're going to hit the edit button here, you can create habits from scratch, which we'll go through in a second. I just want to walk through sort of the scheduling template here. Your lunch habit is a flexible routine that you want to make time for on a regular basis. So you give it a title, and you can make a habit for anything that you want. This is just a great example. Give it an emoji if you want, and then you have your priority setting here, which we'll go over a little bit in more depth in a second. But you essentially tell Reclaim how aggressively you want to defend this habit around everything else that you have going on in the calendar. So from critical to low priority. I'll leave it as critical for now because I want to make sure that no matter what else happens during the day, I really want to make sure that I get time for lunch. You can make it a work or personal habit, so you have time for your personal routines as well as those work recurring habits that you have to get done. And here's where we get into that flexible time range that I've been talking about. You can give Reclaim a duration range. So instead of saying, okay, a recurring 1 hour lunch break at 12 o'clock every single day, maybe when your days get really busy, you want at least 15 minutes for a lunch break. And at maximum, if you have the time, an hour. And again, this allows Reclaim to, on your behalf, adjust your routine, this habit, and how it schedules around how your schedule changes, how you book up, and what your other priorities for that day might be. You can tell Reclaim when you want to schedule this habit. So you could have one-off hours in this case, where you have a custom time range that you want to be available for. So instead of having it at 12 o'clock every single day, you might be happy to have lunch between 11:30 and 2, depending on how your day books up. You can adjust for other habits, what days you want to complete the habit, and add multiple time ranges to a single day and fully customize when you want to complete it. You can set the frequency. So this is great for not only daily habits like lunch, but maybe you have a weekly habit to get to the gym, or a monthly habit to update all of your reports, or a quarterly habit to prepare for retrospective planning, or whatever else that might be. So those things don't fall through the cracks as the year progresses. You can set an ideal time. So if it is available, 12 o'clock is a great time to have lunch. Otherwise, I have this time range available. You can also set a habit to start in after a certain date or as soon as possible. You can add notes, which supports Markdown, so you can include things like links to reports that you might have to update for a habit, or other notes that you might have, or a project that you're working on. You could always link that in here, add images, lists, that kind of thing. We have visibility settings. So how much transparency do you want to create with this habit for other people viewing your calendar? In this case, I'm happy for my team to see when I am busy with a lunch break, to reduce those interruptions and create more context around what I'm busy with. But if you had, say, a personal habit, you could also mark it as busy without a description if you didn't want to convey too much information there. And then on top of the priority settings, you can also set a time defense for how Reclaim schedules this habit. Now, digital calendars use free busy controls to control how available you look to others looking at your calendar. So free events will show when other people view your calendar as open time slots to meet, for example. And then busy events are actually the ones that are visible on your calendar, so you can't get overbooked with a meeting. Or you could, but ideally not. With Reclaim, you use these smart free busy controls as well, but Reclaim automates the process. So when it first schedules a habit or any smart event, it's initially scheduled as free, meaning that it sort of reserves the time slot for that event, whether it's a habit or a task. And as your days book up, or as it runs out of time to reschedule it around those preferences that you've set, it automatically flips it to busy, so that you have that balance between, yes, defending time for all the things that you want to work on, but also keeping you open to opportunities to collaborate and keeping your calendar available to those important meetings as well. Because it's not about just blocking up your calendar. That's not really a realistic way to approach the solution as well. And that's really all of the details that Reclaim needs to start scheduling your habit. There's also some advanced options where you can CC others to include them on a habit that might be collaborative. And then we have this neat little feature to avoid duplicate events, which is great for something like lunch. This is already auto-populated, but you could add additional keywords that Reclaim will scan your calendar for and forego scheduling it for that time when it sees that duplicate. So if you had, say, restaurant for a team meeting, Reclaim would find that keyword on your calendar and not schedule lunch for that day because you're already going to a restaurant, so you don't need to have it twice. You can auto decline interruptions, so you're automatically defending time for that habit if you really don't want to be interrupted. And then Reclaim gets to work finding time for that habit around everything else you have going on around these flexible scheduling rules. And this is a bit of a longer introduction to habits because it really paints that picture well. And then here you have an overview of your upcoming events or instances for this habit. And if we go to the planner and we go forward a little bit, we can see how this free busy control works. Let me see. So in the case of our next week, I have lunch scheduled, as you can see, not at the same time every day, but between the time ranges that I have set so that it is flexible around everything else that I have going on. So I still have that time defended on the calendar to get lunch in, but I have a little bit more flexibility for other priorities. In this case, on Wednesday 31st, I have a team lunch, so Reclaim doesn't schedule lunch because I already have a lunch on there. In the Reclaim planner, we have this neat little dashed outline, which shows events that are free. So this one might still move around depending on how my day fills up, and there's a little bit of flexibility around my time range versus the ones that are solid time blocks that are secured in place and have that time defended. In Google Calendar, obviously there's no dashed outline, but we do show what events are marked as busy or free with an additional emoji, either a shield for busy or a little free emoji for a free event, and Reclaim automatically flips those. Now Reclaim is a tool for Google Calendar. It's fully bi-directional, so anything that you update in Reclaim automatically reflects in Google Calendar and vice versa. So if I wanted to move something around, say this task, I'd move it to tomorrow because I'm not going to get to it today. Reclaim will automatically update that across both platforms to make sure that everything stays synced. Let's see if we have any questions. How do I plan a regular task, for example, each month between the 18th and 20th of the month during 2 consecutive hours? So we have additional tools coming out for recurring habits for specific days. Currently, it's more of like a, roundabout monthly or every other week for like a, bi-weekly habit. And we'll have soon additional settings for setting specific days or like the first of the month, the last of the month, that kind of thing, for a little bit more control around those routines that you might have going on at specific days or times of the month. So that's a quick intro to habits, and that gives a good idea of how Reclaim is making time for that smart scheduling. So instead of blocking up your calendar, it really keeps you flexible around the preferences of how you want to schedule these things. Unlike habits, which are your recurring routines, the things that you want to make time for on a recurring basis, your tasks are sort of your frequently changing to-dos, the projects that you're working on, the things that you need to defend time for on the calendar to work on that are always changing. And the big thing is that, busy professionals have an endless to-do list full of things that they have to get done, but there's often this lack of a bridge between your actual availability and all the things that you have to do. So it's great to know what you have to do, but actually finding the time and defending it on your calendar to work on it, to accomplish it before deadlines is the hard part. And Reclaim really takes care of that by automatically, just like with habits, scheduling that time ahead of a deadline for how long you need to work on those tasks. You can create a task from anywhere in the app, from this little button up in the header, or by hitting C, and it will pull up this smaller version of the habits form that we just walked through. So you could add a title for how you want this event to display on the calendar, add an emoji if you wanted to, set how long you need to work on it. Say if you had a longer task, you can also choose to split it up. Obviously 5 hours, 5 consecutive hours might be hard to find on your calendar, but you might have a minimum of 30 minutes to work on it and a max of 2 hours, and Reclaim will break up the larger tasks ahead of the deadline around those time ranges that you want to set to find time for you to work on it. Again, you can choose the hours for when you want to schedule your task, whether that's your working personal hours or any additional custom hours that you set up. I'll leave this as working hours. You can again set for it to schedule out after a certain date. So you don't want to start working on a task until the 1st of February because it's only due in March, say. Let's do that. Or you can have it start scheduling immediately. And let's hit create, and Reclaim is going to start finding time ahead of those deadlines and around those preferences to make time for that task. If I open it here, we'll see all of the upcoming events around those preferences to schedule it before it's due, starting after the start date that I set for it. Now you'll notice that there's another little field in this task page called Up Next, and this is really great for the things that you want to work on ASAP. So just like with habits where we have our priority setting, you can also set the priority for your task events. So this again defines how aggressively Reclaim is going to prioritize this event around all of the other things that you have going on in your calendar. Now higher priority tasks can overbook lower priority habits as well as lower priority smart one-on-ones so that you always have time defended for the things that are most important. And really that's a big thing that comes down to how we prioritize prioritize our time, and you have to be ruthless about it. A lot of times we have a lot more to do in a week than we actually have time for. And by setting the universal priorities for everything on your calendar, you help Reclaim build out a productive plan that not only makes sure that you have time for the things that you want to do, but also automatically allows it to make trade-offs around the things that are more important. So those are getting done, definitely. So the default here is high priority. You can set it to whatever you want it to be. And the up next tasks forego all priority settings. So if you drag a task to up next, say this task that we just created, Reclaim is going to prioritize scheduling that as soon as possible ahead of your other tasks, regardless of their priority setting. You have a similar task outline in the planner view where you have your task list here with your up next tasks as well. You could always move these back down from out of up next if you wanted to prioritize the few up here. Tasks in up next are stack rankable, so you can prioritize them, the up next task in that little section as well. So that's a little introduction to tasks. If you have played around with Reclaim or you are a user of other project management tools, your team uses project management tools, Reclaim does integrate with tools like Todoist, Linear, Jira, Asana, and ClickUp, as well as Google Tasks to sync over tasks created in those platforms to your Google Calendar or via Reclaim as a smart task. All of your integrations live under Settings, Integrations, where you can connect your platform to start syncing over your tasks automatically. This copies over priority levels from your other platforms, how long you need. You can sync them by space or tag in ClickUp, as well as Todoist rules at certain hours, so that you can really make time for the things that you are scheduling for across different platforms as well, and not have to make a new task for every single one. Then we've talked a little bit about making time for your personal priorities, your routines, your tasks, but Reclaim also has very powerful collaborative features for your meetings. If you are a manager or someone who has one-on-one meetings on their calendar, you will probably know how difficult it is to find time to meet with others, and not only find time the first time, but say something comes up and you need to reschedule. That's another email chain that you have to start to find the next time that you can meet around everyone's availability. And Smart One-on-Ones really completely goes hands-free on that. So you can set up your Smart One-on-Ones, send a one-time meeting invitation to set up availability, and automatically find time to connect on your scheduling preferences with another person based on both of your availability. Let's really check on any questions we have before we move on. We currently have sort of a workaround integration for Notion. That is something that's on the roadmap that has been requested, but it's probably not something that's coming up too soon. I definitely recommend checking out our launch notes. I have included that in the chat where we share product updates with our users, where you can subscribe to certain roadmap items that you're interested in, so you're the first to know when there is progress there. But right now we're really focusing, especially in Q1, on working on the product and coming up with more, or really working out our features that we have now with even more capabilities. So that's really the focus coming up here soon. So Smart One-on-Ones, again, very similar template for your scheduling rules that you can lay out here as well. Send a one-time meeting invitation. The great thing with Smart One-on-Ones is that it doesn't have to be with another Reclaim user. Anyone who has access to your calendar, so someone like on your team or within your organization would be likely, don't have to sign up for Reclaim. They just have to share their preferences for when they want to be available for this meeting. But we have lots of documentation on that to make sure that everything works out just the way that you wanted to with your Smart One-on-One. Send a one-time meeting invitation. Again, you have the option to add meeting notes or links to an agenda or something like that for your event, and it'll automatically be included in each event on the calendar, so you don't have to go looking for it when the meeting starts. Again, you have your priority settings. How do you want to prioritize this around other Smart One-on-Ones? Is this a really important priority meeting that you want to make sure to have time for? Or is it one that can be deprioritized if something more important comes up? Setting that priority so that you have time for the most important things every week is a great way to take back control of your calendar. How long do you want to meet for? How often do you want to meet? Setting your hours and availability across both people Again, having that ideal time or day if you do have it. Otherwise, say weekly, you don't really care what day of the week it is, as long as you get to meet every week. You could also set it to have a specific ideal time and day. And again, having that option to set it out into the future. You can add a video conferencing link that will automatically be included in each recurring event, or add a manual physical location or another video conferencing link, and you send off your one-time invitation, and it automatically finds time across both people's busy calendars to connect on those preferences. The great thing here too is that not only is it automatically scheduling the meeting on the calendar like a personal assistant, it also takes out the stress of having to reschedule or cancel meetings. Let's find a smart one-on-one on the calendar here. Patrick and Ellen, let's say on Monday, I know I'm not going to be able to make this meeting. As both the organizer and the attendee, you can automatically reschedule or skip a smart one-on-one. Let's say reschedule to any other day, and Reclaim will automatically find the next best time on both people's calendars to meet. It's literally seconds. It's a one click. Instead of having to send someone a message on Slack or an email to coordinate a new time, you've just saved the time to actually focus on making it a productive meeting, and have that time back for any other priorities that you have. So that's smart one-on-ones, which is a fantastic way to, again, optimize your one-on-one meetings, especially if you're a manager. There's people who have 10 plus one-on-one meetings every week. It's just such a great way such an easy way to get so much more time back every week to focus on other priorities. If you do have one-on-one meetings on the calendar already, you can also automatically convert them to smart one-on-ones by going to the detected tab. That's a really hard thing to say. And it will walk you through setting or converting your one-on-one meetings to smart one-on-ones so that it's a super seamless process. Now, scheduling links are another meeting tool, another collaborative tool that work a little bit differently. And we wanted to create a meeting booking link that gave you and your invitees a little bit more control around scheduling. One of the big things that we found was that, one, people struggled to offer up enough availability for their important meetings. So you often found people going into their calendar and deleting events to open up time before sharing a scheduling link. And additionally, there was sort of an etiquette issue in terms of, okay, someone wants to meet with me. Now I have to decide for them. Do I want to send them an hour meeting link or like a 30-minute meeting link? And you just run into this difficult situation where you have this awkward, I want you to find time with me, but here's my meeting link, here's an hour, I guess, or half an hour. And it doesn't give the attendee a lot of control or a lot of feeling of control in that experience. And so we created a scheduling links, which offer more prioritization control. Obviously, Reclaim is already scheduling everything else on your calendar, so it understands your priorities. And just like with everything else, those universal priorities, you can set your priority level for each of your scheduling links. Additionally, you can also add up to 3 different durations to a single meeting link. So you could add, say, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 45 meetings to one meeting link, and the user or your attendee can actually choose how much time they need with you and how often or how soon they can get in with you. Obviously, an hour might be hard to come by on your calendar, but maybe 30 minutes is enough for them, and that can get them in sooner. Just giving a little bit more control over to the people that you're trying to schedule time with. And one of the greatest parts is that you don't have to go in and clear out any more events. Priorities for scheduling links work a little bit differently. While smart one-on-ones, habits, and tasks, depending on their priority, can overbook lower priority events in those categories. Your scheduling links are sort of the very important part on your calendar, so they can't get overbooked by any other Reclaim event. But depending on the priority that you set for each scheduling link, it determines what you show as available for those meeting links. So say you have a critical priority scheduling link, your highest priority. It will show any lower priority item on your calendar. That includes tasks, habits, smart one-on-ones, as well as non-Reclaim created events. So say like a team meeting that you might have in Google Calendar that you have manually turned down. Reclaim will never overbook anything without your explicit consent. But say you have a team meeting created in Google Calendar that you are happy to overbook. Say this HR discussion meeting isn't that important. Mark that as medium priority manually, and Reclaim any higher priority Reclaim scheduling link. So any high priority scheduling link or critical priority scheduling link will show that time automatically as available. And if someone schedules a meeting over that available time where you have something else scheduled that they can't see, Reclaim will automatically reschedule it, obviously for the Reclaim Smart events, to the next best time. So you can make time for your most important meetings without that manual toil of trying to clear out time before sending it. And again, just a really great way to make time for the things that are most important and giving Reclaim the context that it needs to overschedule and deprioritize the other things. Something that's really, really difficult for a lot of people is sort of that prioritization concept and being able to swap out and make those trade-offs. It also offers a really clean interface for how you want to book. Again, here we have those flexible durations that you can add, and it allows you to really control what you want to show as available automatically and let Reclaim take care of scheduling the rest. Really just like a very intelligent assistant that, based on your preferences and the settings that you set, can't do anything wrong, and build out that prioritized schedule automatically. Let's see if we have any other questions around scheduling links. All right, I know we're coming up on time here, so let's go over a few other things. Calendar sync is another powerful feature that is a little less obvious on the calendar, but if you are someone who schedules across multiple different calendars, say you have multiple client calendars or different corporate identities, or even just a personal calendar that you schedule your personal events to, like doctor's appointments or family events, things like that, you can use Calendar Sync to automatically copy and share events to a primary calendar so that you can schedule your time more realistically across all your different schedules and protect that time from being overbooked by showing other people when you're busy. You know, if you have a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. on your personal calendar and someone books a 9 a.m. meeting on your work calendar, you can't really blame them when they can't see that you're busy. And having that automatically sync over with Calendar Sync is a fantastic way to create a little bit more transparency around when you're busy, but really control what you want to show is available, or what you want to show, what kind of context you want to show. So you could have it sync as a personal commitment for everybody. So all they would see if, say, it was a personal event, would be a personal commitment on your work calendar. You just have it marked as busy. You could show and share event details that you do want to share or feel comfortable sharing. Again, just being able to create a calendar, build out a calendar that reflects your true availability with that control over privacy and what you want to actually show your teammates as available. And you can build out calendar syncs across indefinite calendars on paid plans across, you know, every schedule. I always say, you know, you could have 24 different calendars, but you still only have the same amount of time every week, and being able to schedule that in one place with a realistic overview of your availability is so important to avoid that double booking and just avoid, again, the struggle of juggling manually all of your schedules. Now, everything that I talked about today is also available in our setup guide, which is getting a huge facelift, where you can walk through all of our different features and learn more there and really explore the app. Obviously, it's a lot to take in all at once, but it's supposed to really fit into the work stack that you're already using. Reclaim isn't here to replace Google Calendar or to replace the tools that you're already using. It's really designed to fit in with everything that your workflow already is. So we have integrations with Slack as well if your team works on Slack, where you can share your Slack status or sync your Slack status to your calendar so you can share what you're busy with your team automatically. We have a Raycast extension for our Mac users so that you can have sort of desktop quick actions for Reclaim. We have the Google add-on, which is free across all our plans, and it's available in the Google Workspace Marketplace, and it's also linked in the chat that I linked with quick links there. This is a great way to, again, pull Reclaim into Google Calendar. If you prefer working there, that's totally fine. You can manage all of your events with a very similar sidebar in Google Calendar once you do install the add-on. And I was showing most of this demo in the Reclaim app. But again, if you prefer working Google Calendar, if this is where you are comfortable, Reclaim works, it meets you where you work. The add-on also automatically adds to Gmail so that you can automatically share your scheduling links via email for quick sharing, so you have to pull up Reclaim every time, making it super simple to share your availability with those intelligent and prioritized scheduling links. We also have a YouTube channel where we have our live stream demos. We have lots of videos about features and other productivity tips that we share. We have our help center, which covers everything I've talked about today and more, as well as I mentioned our launch notes where we share all of our product updates where you can subscribe to roadmap items that you want to keep on top of, so you're the first to hear when there's any updates there. I know we're on time. If there's any other questions, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes to make sure we answer those. A couple other features just while we're here is really being able to customize your calendar around your preferences with automatic categorization and color coding, which is often overlooked, but such a powerful part of this too. Obviously, if using your calendar and time blocking your calendar is a habit that you want to get into and want to use daily, it helps to make it something that you like looking at. And Reclaim can automatically categorize and color code all of the events on your calendar or just Reclaim events. We also went over integrations, hours, which we talked about across all of these different features. You can build out your hours, the defaults being your working, meeting, and personal hours, as well as custom hours on our paid plans where you can build out additional hours or options for those events to schedule during, really building out a personalized experience and a personalized productive weekly plan around what works for you and when you're most productive. For general settings too, there are locking settings, default task settings for quick task creation, as well as buffer time and breaks. In big part, we think about productivity being able to fit more and more in every single day, but that's just not the most realistic way to look at it. So you can enable task and habit breaks, where you schedule a break after any task or habit event, travel time before and after events with a physical location, as well as decompression time after meetings, but whether that's just video conferencing meetings to avoid that Zoom fatigue or all meeting events on your calendar with a message for when you're busy, sort of taking a breather or taking notes after meetings and preparing for the next one. So Reclaim automatically makes time for those as well. Thank you so much for joining. Again, I'll stick around for another couple minutes to see if there's any other questions. We're always available on support as well. If you run into any bugs or if you have any issues getting started and you can't find an answer for it, our team is always available. I hope this was helpful in answering a few questions, walking through Reclaim and some of the features that smart scheduling really offers and how you can optimize your time there. Especially with our new priority settings, it's just such a powerful new way to universally get the most out of your week and make sure that you're dedicating your time and your energy, limited resources to the things that are most important to you. And Reclaim is such a great way to do that. So thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. All right. Annette asked, can you explain sync one more time? Yes. So calendar sync copies events across calendars to a primary calendar. So specifically your work calendar. Say you have a personal event scheduled on one calendar. If you set up a calendar sync between your personal calendar and your work calendar, it will copy those events from your personal calendar to your work calendar in that real time so that you have all of your events scheduling on one calendar so you can view your availability more accurately. If we walk through this sync here, you would link your personal calendar or whatever, a client calendar, whatever that might look like, to your primary calendar, set up that sync, specify whether that's, say, a travel calendar, a work calendar, or a personal calendar, the color that you want to sync those events to, how you want those synced events to show to others on your primary calendar. So if it's, say, your work calendar, how do you want your personal calendar events to show on your work calendar, whether you want to show any event details or not. Whether you want to sync all day events, syncing on all hours. And once you hit save, Reclaim will automatically start copying those events to your primary calendar so that you can see all of your events across all your different calendars in one place. There's also, again, lots of documentation on calendar sync in our help center, which is linked in the chat as well. If you did want to look over it, lots of documentation across every bug that you could come into and getting set up for success if you do have lots of different calendars for whatever your use case might be. automatically adding time for location, real time. Yes, so for our travel time, it is currently an estimated time. So you set sort of a buffer. This is for privacy reasons that it doesn't currently actually locate your location to schedule time between destinations. So if we quickly open it up, you would set sort of a default travel duration to more so defend that time from being booked back to back, so you have time to get to where you're going, and less so to have an accurate sort of destination travel time. That is something that we will look at down the line as well. Currently, it's more so to sort of schedule that buffer time before and after an event with a physical location. For events that have a flight included, Reclaim will automatically schedule additional time for those airport time sinks, so that you do have a little bit more time defended around flights to get to your destination and back. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully this was helpful in giving you an idea of what Reclaim can do. Again, all of the links are in the chat. This stream will be on YouTube if you did want to rewatch it to go over anything else that you might have missed this first time around. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you on YouTube or on social. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.